Hey everyone, how's it going? AZREN here. Hope you guys are doing well. This video is coming to you from the University of Calgary campus. I'm here for, if you guys follow my vlogs, you already know, but I'm here for the Conlang conference, aka a language creation conference. And yeah, it's going really good so far. And today, we're going to be talking about something really interesting, which is, well, interesting for me, which is my favorite and least favorite things about learning different languages. So let's start with my favorites. My favorite things are, the number one thing for me is pronunciation. I love pronunciation. I'm fascinated by how languages sound. There's something about it. It's really interesting. I find that when I've met different language learners, often what tends to happen is a lot of these language learners, they're fascinated by grammar. They're very interested in learning how to make sentences, vocabulary. For me, the first thing I ever do is try and learn how do I say every single sound in the alphabet or that exists in that language. How do I say it at a near native correctness or at a native correctness? And it gets even further than that. Even as I'm learning the language, I'm listening for things that native speakers do while they are talking, because often in languages we will shorten words, our pronunciation changes when we blend it with different sounds, and I'm completely fascinated by that, right? I think another big aspect of languages that I really enjoy is not necessarily like the grammar, but it's hard to explain. I guess I'd put it more in terms of like how people actually speak versus how you might have learned in a textbook. Because often you will see a specific, grammar, tense, or a specific way that you were taught how to speak. But when people are actually talking, they don't necessarily speak like that. For example, I was running a summer camp, as you guys know, recently, an English literacy camp, and there was one kid who had learned English and wasn't all that great, and he's still learning. And he basically said, instead of saying like, "Excuse me, I didn't understand," or instead of saying pardon, he basically said, "I beg your pardon." That was his go-to statement. And for me, I was talking to him like, "Hey man, do you know that's like super formal to say I beg your pardon if you want someone to repeat themselves? Like it's very, very formal." And he's like, "Really? All my teachers told me that is like the correct way, that is the best way to say it." And I was like, "Well, you can say it, but at least where I live, I mean, not a ton of people will say I beg your pardon if they want you to repeat whatever you said." So that's really fascinating for me. I think let's do one more thing that I really enjoy. I mean, I don't know if it's my number one favorite, but another really big thing that I enjoy, I've got a bit of a dry throat, that I enjoy about learning languages has nothing to do with the language itself. It has to do with the fact that it opens me up to be able to meet different people and learn more about different cultures. So I think I've talked about this before, but when you speak another language, right, what it allows you to do is it allows you to communicate with someone in their first language, which means that they're able to communicate the exact message that they want to communicate to you versus being hindered or slowed down by a language barrier. So I really like that. Now, my least favorite parts of a language is that sometimes it can be incredibly boring in the process. Like right now I'm going through intensive Chinese lessons, Mandarin lessons, and let me tell you, like sometimes I'm 2 hours into my lesson, it's like, ugh, I kind of just want to stop. Like I'm kind of bored of this. I don't want to read this textbook anymore. Like, right? Or like sometimes, not even just boredom, sometimes you get tired. Like your brain gets tired and you just don't really want to do it in the moment. And actually it's not entirely true. You do want to do it in the moment and you kind of don't. You don't because your brain's tired. You'd rather go like eat food and all that nonsense. But deep down you kind of do because you know the end result. But overall, yeah, it's definitely something in the moment. It's one of those in the moment things that I don't necessarily overly enjoy per se, right? I think another thing that I don't necessarily like about language learning is when people get extremely technical. And I think this goes more into the field of linguistics and less into language learning. One of the reasons I didn't major in linguistics and didn't get like super intense into linguistics when I was studying it at university, because I did study a decent amount, is that when you start to get into it, people get really deep and very technical and very nitpicky about what's correct, what's not correct, all of that nonsense, and that's not really something that I'm overly into. As a matter of fact, it's why I didn't like the second 2 years of my major at university. I majored in French and Spanish and didn't particularly like them because that's when you start to get into like very nitpicky literature, very nitpicky, like, analyzing poems and whatnot. And people start to debate over the little tiniest things that don't, overall, in my opinion anyway, they don't really matter, right? They really don't, at least in my perspective. So that's why in my third and fourth year of university, I probably didn't go to 50% of my classes. just didn't attend. So it's probably another aspect of language learning, and probably I guess goes more into linguistics that I'm not a huge particular fan of per se. Yeah, it's kind of what's coming to mind right now. As you guys know, I do my videos from top of my head. I don't really prep too much in advance, especially now because I got to get my lunch. I've got like, how much time do I have? Literally have like 25 minutes to eat my lunch and everything before we get back to the conference. I've been trying to jam pack as many things into my lunch break as I can. So hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you guys later. Bye for now.